Hang on, just do your hair.
Cool.
Oh yes, make cuts. Yeah, okay. We started, like the previous team, by getting a coffee and discussing our various problems and trying to get some inspiration. Personally, I think that was a good way of not only learning about the problems, but getting ourselves thinking about how we could resolve them and different ways of working through. My problem was teaching a very, I suppose, fairly technical subject. I'm teaching data management, where I teach databases, and I had to teach the students SQL, which is a bit like programming. It's kind of like a programming language. I've always struggled in the past to make this interesting. It's not something I think really suits a lecture format, because I'm sitting in front with a load of code on the whiteboard and I'm trying to explain it and point it through, and it's not very engaging for the students, I don't feel. Will I talk about the solution now?
Yeah.
I think so. The solution really was found by Chloe. We were trying to find ways of doing this, and the way we thought the best way of explaining it would be to go through the structure of the code, so give them sort of blocks or code elements, and give the students the opportunity to put those blocks together and try and form a complete programming statement. So they wouldn't be writing it from scratch, they'd have sort of elements and they had to match them up. And Chloe found these eggs, which we thought would be quite nice around the Easter theme, although again, we did have that slight issue of it being a Christian holiday and we don't want to be too, but we thought it's only a bit of fun, so it'd be alright. So I'd be able to write on these different blocks of SQL code, and then the students would be able to match them up and put them together in groups and make a statement. So that's the plan. Over to you.
Okay, so my problem was trying to convey the idea of selective pressure. This links to evolution. So if you put a community of people in a harsh environment, someone in that community might be equipped with a tool that will help them survive better than everybody else. And if that person survives better than everybody else, then they will pass on their genes, and that will happen. That's basically evolution. The population moves forward or backwards in that way. When you look at bacteria, they evolve much faster. Bacteria divide every 20 minutes, so evolution happens really, really quickly. And we, as microbiologists, exploit that rapid evolution, and we are able to manipulate bacterial DNA to our own aid. What I wanted to get across is how we can do that in the lab. So how do we use selective pressure to manipulate microbial DNA to our own advantage? So what I ended up doing was, I started off with nerds, the little sweets, but then we found these chicks, and we had a kind of Easter theme. So anyway, I found these chicks, and these represent bacteria. And I'm going to clone into one of these bacteria a useful product, which is a sweetener. So this guy is going to get this sweetener cloned into him. But I don't know which of these bacteria my DNA got cloned into. How do I do that? Well, I also equipped this guy with some protection in a harsh environment. So this is his protection, or her protection. Right, the idea next is to create a harsh environment. And there was a really nice guy on the shop floor that was doing these Dead Sea salt hand scrubs. So I had a lovely hand scrub, and he gave me 3 free samples. And this cream contains salts from the Dead Sea. Now, high salt concentrations are very difficult for bacteria to survive in. There's hardly any bacteria in the Dead Sea. They can't survive. So I'm going to get a big beaker full of water, and I'm going to put my Dead Sea salt in it to make my harsh environment. And then I'm going to chuck all of the bacteria in there. These are all going to sink and they're going to die. And I'm going to come along. And it's going to be really easy for me to find the bacteria that survive the selective pressure. And now I have my tool, and I can make as much sweetener as I like.
We should just say no chick was harmed in the production.
How did you work together?
I think the chat over coffee was really useful, wasn't it? Both of the problems were in a way quite similar in that we were trying to express something that was really technical in a simple way. And at first, I think we got a good idea of the problems quite quickly, and then it was just really walking around and looking for inspiration, wasn't it? That was the
Yeah.
next step.
Yeah. I think it was really important to stop and think and talk before we went to look, because I think at the very beginning we were just sort of kind of randomly grabbing free stuff.
Yeah.
And sort of like, oh, plastic forks, sugar, and it was only really when we kind of stopped and were just talking. And I think we did find that the more we looked, the more creative. And in the end, I think somebody else said it earlier, we could have picked up anything, couldn't we?
I think so.
And everything, I think we had a lot of fun. Everything was quite funny. And yeah, I think that helped to have each other's support. That we weren't crazy and picking these ridiculous ideas.